of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough.
President Trump launched this war of choice against Iran, despite advice he got from a number of senior planners and military leaders.
The Pentagon now preparing to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion to fund the fight.
The Department of Justice has posted
previously missing FBI interviews related to sexual assault allegations against President Trump.
The White House unveiling plans for a massive new ballroom in a rebuilt East Wing.
The Trump administration has initiated funding cuts and stopped research programs they say do not meet the objectives of the administration.
Are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
We could have had TSA paid by the end of the week, but the president said no deals.
I have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States.
Hello and welcome back to the Contrarian's coverage of No King's Day. No King's Day, no King's Day. This is a special day. It's a day when over 3,000 protest groups across the nation are speaking loudly against this anti-dictatorship, this anti-authoritarianism, this anti-Donald Trump policies. This is what's happening today, and we are live in a democracy, not a monarchy, and that's why so many Americans are exercising their First Amendment, the right to protest and freedom of speech. The right to protest and freedom of speech. And we're going to be with you for the next hour or so and show you some of the best of this No King's Day coverage that no other news organization can provide but here at the Contrarian. And we're on the ground in places like Minnesota. That is ground zero today for No King's Day. We're also on the ground in Washington, D.C. and Portland, Oregon. And we'll show you some pictures and videos from other cities and towns across the nation that are showing out and showing up, to include some of those red states. Red states are participating in No King's Day as well. And I want to bring to you someone who's been on the ground in Washington, D.C. She's been working hard. She is our fearless leader, the Contrarian co-founder, none other than Jen Rubin, who was out at the protest today in Southeast D.C. Jen, are you there, my Jen? All right. Well, Jen will be back with us in a little bit. So I tell you what, we're coming back to Jen, but I think, team, do we have Mary Frances Berry ready? Because I saw her earlier. Is she here? Okay, my team. Hello, team. All right. So guys, here's what I'm going to tell you. Just stand by. I think we're having some technical difficulties. Oh, no, we're not. I see her. I see the great Mary Frances Berry, none other than the great Mary Frances Berry. Hello to you. Hello there, she's frozen. Mary Frances Berry, the former head of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. I see her. Okay, we'll come back to her in a moment. Guys, I'm telling you, everyone is on their devices and technology has a glitch every now and again. But I'm going to tell you, we've got so many people and so many things to share with you. To stand by and stay with us. But you know, I'm going to tell you, yes, look at this. We are in, where is that? North Carolina, if I'm correct. Look at that. People are out there. People are out there protesting and saying what they feel. You know, the last hour we had Mark Morial with us. He was talking about the economics portion. We had Dr. Amos Brown. He was talking about the church and how it has, over the years, been very much part of the civil rights movement. And I would like to see if we can get Mary Frances Berry back on right now. I see, there she is. I see my friend. I see you. Hello there.
I hear you talking about Amos Brown, Reverend Brown.
He was.
You wrote about the Smithsonian and all the stuff that's happening with it.
Oh, we'll talk. Well, if you want to talk about the Smithsonian, we can. we'll talk about the Smithsonian, but let me tell you before that, if he was on, we had such a good time. But I want to talk to you. You are the former head of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, and I'm so glad that you came in today because whether you guys know it or not, this is walking history. She protests and she's gone to jail to teach people how to stand up and change the dynamic. Yes, look at her smiling. And she fought for the release of Nelson Mandela. She fought for to end apartheid in South Africa. She pushed for sanctions against South Africa until then. You have marched and marched and marched. She was great friends with Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King. With all that you've done and all that you know and all the wisdom that you have in the history, what does today mean for you?
Okay, here's what it means to me. And I want to make 2 points. The first I want to make is that nonviolent protest has been something, as Martin Luther King said in the last book he wrote before he was assassinated, has to be used. It's nonviolent protest is an essential ingredient of politics. And I've been saying that all my life, and I've seen it happen. Even after we got the vote with the 65 Act, we still didn't get anything that we really needed, except a lot of blowhards, until we continue to. That's what the Poor People's March was about. That's what everything has been about. That's what all the things you mentioned was been about. But let me make this point, that we have in the Bill of Rights the right to protest. We have the right to go up against the government and be in a nonviolent way. And that includes freedom of press and all the things that people know are in the Bill of Rights. But when it was put in there, this is the history part of it. When it was put in there, Hamilton and Madison had an argument about it. Hamilton said, you need a Bill of Rights because if you have separation of powers, you got the courts, you got the Congress, and you got the presidency, and they will all keep track of each other and make sure everybody does what they're supposed to do. We know better than that. And Hamilton said that, and Madison said, no, we need something so the people have the right to stand up and can be protected because men are not angels. And then the last point I make about that is that some of our famous scholars and judges said, more than one said it, that in fact, if you go up against a king, you must kill him.
Ooh!
And if you don't kill him, or if you don't control him or beat him, then he's going to defeat you. You'll get vengeance, corruption, you'll get everything else if it's the divine right of a king, absolute monarchy. Well, since Trump thinks that he is a king, and I'm not talking about killing anybody, I'm just telling you.
No, we're not talking about killing anybody, but that's, yeah.
But since he seems to think he is a king, since he said, I can do anything I want to do, if I'm quoting him correctly, something like that, he's an absolute monarch. If you don't use your right to protest nonviolent and use your right to continue to demand equality and justice for the people, then you can see the Congress is not, the Republicans in Congress aren't going to be the guardrail. And in fact, the Supreme Court so far hasn't been the guardrail. So Madison was right. We need the Bill of Rights, but if you don't use it, then you lose it. And in fact, I love the label, No King's Protest, because whatever he thinks he is, the man is not a king, and we will continue to fight the battles.
Whatever he thinks he is, he's not a king. Whatever he thinks he is, he's not a king. That's a quote. I'm going to get a shirt and put, whatever he thinks he is, he's not a king. Quote by Mary Frances Berry. That was impactful. I think everyone else felt it. But let me ask you this. Do you see similarities in anything that you've done before with today?
Yes, I wrote a book called History Teaches Us to Resist, which the indivisible people and a lot of people who are involved in all of this read. I wrote it right after Trump got elected the first time. Defeated Hillary, and all these people I knew were sobbing and sad and, we don't know what to do. We can't do nothing. So I wrote this book. And the book says, history teaches us to resist. And if we do resist, we can win. And then I showed them examples. Free South Africa movement, everything I was in. Free South Africa against Reagan, who I always thought was the worst. And now we got Trump. But anyway, all of these people. and the great things that happen to Black people and people of color and women and all the food groups, I call us, that in fact, you could go up, and as long as you were peaceful and that you made sacrifices and you were persistent, anti-Vietnam War movement. I was in Vietnam as a war correspondent one summer. And I, in fact,
Isn't that something?
I was in graduate school. We thought we were going to lose, but we won. We ended the draft, eventually won. So my point is that I told those women who were all crying, they invited me to speak. And when I got there, they were going to celebrate, and then Hillary lost, and then they were crying. So I said, stop, get up off your do nothing stool, as my mother used to say, and go out and organize.
Organize.
Because resistance always works. Now, what I like about the people who are doing this, who are leading all these protests at these places, I like the fact that they spread them out all around the country in different places. You know, instead of having a big march, you know, at the mall, you know, we can have marches at the mall, but every town here in New Orleans, where I am right now, it's a big march. Everywhere you look in Washington, you know, everywhere, Philadelphia, all around. And I
hear Boston has a huge one right now.
Right, and you don't have to go to DC or something.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really great. And I think that nothing would have happened. Trump wouldn't have been pulling out his executive order pen to talk about he's going to pay the TSA people if the Renee Good and Freddie had not been killed, and the Minneapolis people and all the people who got together who did all this and everybody who kept it going, it had not happened. So you can make change by protesting. So this is a beautiful day. And I love the fact that resistance continues.
It's a beautiful day. And I love the fact that resistance continues. Non-violent, peaceful resistance. And I hope he sees it. I mean, remember last time he saw it, he came out with some kind of AI generated mess, King Trump flying in a jet, and he dumped feces all over. I said, Lord have mercy, if he's not petty, his feelings were hurt that day. And I love when you laugh. His feelings were so hurt. So I wonder what he's going to do today while he's in Mar-a-Lago.
Already calling the protesters un-American, because if you were American, you would, you know, support everything.
This is patriotism. This is patriotism.
And they're so illogical. All this thing about, you know, they're supposed to be against DEI because it brings in people who can't do anything or whatever, and doing all this stuff to people. And all those people he got in there, you can count them. When you turn the TV on and you look at the cabinet, you say, these people are the people who have no talent, no ability to do any job that they have. The Department of Education, I helped Jimmy Carter get the Department of Education because I was running education for him in the federal government, and I helped him get the votes to get it. And I was so proud of it because we needed it. And now they are turning down. They got somebody running it who doesn't know anything about whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, and they don't care about the harm that they do to people. And
That's
they have no one in that administration should be able to stand up and say, we believe in merit only because we represent merit, unless merit beats something that I never heard of.
Yeah. So as you talk about DEI, and when you came in, you talk about, you talked about Amos Brown in the museum. So I do want to talk about that, this anti-DEI, because you know I'm on that museum thing. And Donald Trump has said that he doesn't want slavery. Look at what happened in Philadelphia. They tried to take down the exhibit, and a judge said, no, put that exhibit up of George Washington's slaves in Philadelphia. But Mary Frances Berry, the esteemed Mary Frances Berry, to my dismay, as we sit here and speak now, I don't know if Donald Trump got his wish. We don't know, but we do know that the pieces of lumber from those slave ships that were sitting in the museum as you first go into the slavery exhibit are now back in South Africa. And they were supposed to be a long-standing exhibit, but now they're on loan. So what do you say about that?
I say that it's the same thing that happened to everything that is there. And to all the people who are working in those museums and people who are working in schools who can't teach history, people who can't teach about Plato if they're teaching philosophy. There are people who can't do what they're supposed to do to teach the children. of our country. I think that it's just racism, pure and simple, and an ability to reach back. Some days I think that I tell people, well, maybe if we're not careful, they're going to have us out there picking cotton again.
Don't you say that. If you let me tell you, people don't. I remember in grade school when I heard about Eli Whitney and the cotton gin, and I heard about it. I never picked cotton, but I picked up a cotton ball as an adult. That thing hurts. That thing is no joke. Oh my Lord. You talking about picking cotton? No, thank you. But but in getting back to Amos Brown, Dr. Amos Brown, who we had on the 3 p.m. hour, he spoke of religion and the civil rights movement, but he also had an exhibit in the museum. They took it off loan, and now we don't know where it is. So
and that happened to a lot of people. They asked me when the museum was being created, because I worked with Lonnie and the rest of the people to help.
Speaking of Lonnie Bunch, the head of the Smithsonian.
Bunch, yeah, and all of us were the group working to try to get it. And I was on the advisory board of the Smithsonian for a while, and we used to walk around the grounds, looking to see where there could be a place, because I was on the advisory board. And I would push the issue, and I would be told by all those folks on there, there's no room for any other museum on the mall. We don't need to hear about that. And that's why we walked and we drew where a museum could be. And in fact, people worked hard to get that. And I lost that fight then, but Lonnie and the rest of them kept on trying, and I kept on trying, and we got it. And now what they want to do is to take away the history that we had. When we were segregated, the teachers were supposed to not teach us anything about what we had done, but my teachers always gave us curriculum on the side. My favorite teacher would invite us over to her house, and we would sit there and we would read stuff and we would understand stuff, and we knew. But if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going.
Preach.
Yes.
Well,
that's something we have to keep in
and
mind.
I hope, and I mean, we see what's happening with the Kennedy Center. I hope that all the museums can continue to flourish and bring people in to educate, as you are, educator and a protester and a teacher, most importantly, and a civil rights legend and icon. I thank you so much. While you are in New Orleans, go get some good gumbo for me and enjoy No King's Day. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Always. You are always welcome, Mary Frances Berry, to come back and sit and tell us all the stories about history that they want to take from us. I just love talking to her. She's everything. She's gumbo and some fried alligator tail as well. So, but guys, okay, I found out that we have Jen Rubin, but by video today. The great leader, Jen Rubin, is coming to us, showing us what was happening in DC.
Okay, see ya, and thanks.
This is the No King's Day protest in Washington, D.C. Yes, Jen Rubin was there. There she is.
Here in Anacostia. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Kristen.
And what do you do?
I am, I'm a protester.
Very good. Tell us what your signs say here.
Well, I have one sign. The sign on my left is Hands Off Our Neighbors, which is a sign that first was from the original Hands Off marches last spring. I'm a native of Minneapolis. Strong sentiment in that direction. And then this other sign here, I've got a free DC behind it, but in the front is from the original No Kings March. And this is Protect Our Elections and the Corruption, No Kings and No Crooks. And the back is a fragment of the Gettysburg Address.
Fabulous. You said you're from Minneapolis. When did you last live there?
Close to 20 years ago.
And and what do you hear from your friends there and family, if you have any that are still in Minneapolis?
They're not the closest to what's going on, but what I will say is that, like in DC, the visibility of ICE operations may have gone down, but it's still there. And I know that it's still of significant concern to the community. And I know that people across the country are concerned about the rhetoric of government interference, federal interference with state elections. And I think that's something that is also of great concern.
Hi, I am here with a choir. What's your name?
I'm Sarah Jane.
And I'm Pam.
And what is the choir? It says All Souls Solidarity Singer.
Okay, so this is the No Kings DC Mass Choir. It is a joint project of all these other choirs from around the area. We have been all out in the street singing to bring joy and support resilience. And so we thought we would have a bigger opportunity to sing with a bigger group for this event. And so we're gathering everyone here, and we will be singing, I think, before the rally, and then while we're marching across the bridge and through the streets.
You said joy. How important is joy in the movement to defend democracy?
It's like oxygen.
Are you guys professional musicians? Do you have other jobs?
I am not a professional, but it brings me joy to be with so many other singers who are so good and bring such excitement and community.
Yeah, this is really an all-volunteer, very grassroots endeavor. There's a number of churches around the area that folks are from, but also just people who want to be there and sing together. And you have seen all of these choirs at different events and actions, and I think we'll continue to see them. And we're here together today, which is great.
And if people want to join one of these choirs, what do they do? Is there a website or someplace they can go?
I think the easiest way to find folks on the web is the Rapid Response Choir, which has a really good website. I think the DC Labor Chorus probably also has a website. Just come out and start singing.
We will look forward to hearing you. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
We are traveling across the country, and we're thankful to our fearless leader, Jen Rubin. She's the co-founder of this great platform, The Contrarian, and she gave some great interviews. The joy of protesting, the joy of feeding the soul of one another who have a common disdain for a king in this country, exercising their First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, freedom to protest. That is patriotism, guys. That is patriotism. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. As we celebrate Dr. King and the civil rights movement, this is it. This is it. This is exactly it. So protest, again, is a part of the democracy. It's part of patriotism. And look at that. No King's Day. They have some other little things talking about Donald Trump that I can't say, but it's very interesting. I stand with, okay, I couldn't see the rest of that, but they're standing against a king. No kings. Look at that. Look at that. And that's in Portland, Oregon. We're traveling to Portland, Oregon, and I want to bring in Tim Dickinson. And he is a veteran political journalist. He is a senior writer and editor at The Contrarian. And today he's our man in the streets in Portland, Oregon. Here's what he heard from protesters there.
I just met Sylvia with the South Park sign here. Sylvia, tell me what brings you out here today.
The fact that we shouldn't be out here. They need to be here for the people. We are the people. They need to listen to us. And that's what the government needs to do, because we're tired.
And tell me about your sign.
Well, it's self-explanatory. He's a big baby. He's a big baby. And he's working with the devil. But we all know what the South Park is. So yeah.
Tell me, the stakes are very serious, but everything seems to be kind of a party atmosphere out here. How does that make you feel?
For me, I also drink the Kool-Aid. I do things not just this is nice. It's nice, but there's more work to be done, and there's underground work that needs to be done. Start with community building. Build your community. Talk to your neighbors. Exchange phone numbers. Get to know your community. That's how you resist this government.
Thank you so much. It was Sandra who saw my Contrarian shirt and ran up to me and said, well, I'm a subscriber. So Sandra, tell us why you subscribe to the Contrarian.
Oh my gosh, because they believe in everything I believe in, and they say it out loud to thousands, tens of thousands of people every day, and it just it gives me courage, it gives me hope, and it gives me pleasure, and sometimes a few laughs.
And what is it
I
that
also said to you, you must be Tim.
I am Tim. And what brings you out here today in particular? Is there one issue that really drives?
Well, it's my third time out. And what I love about these gatherings is that they're not angry, but they're purposeful. And they give a good community feeling, and I love that. And I can go away thinking, well, I'm not alone in this crazy, benighted world. I really have people who matter and who care.
That's profound. Thank you for sharing. I'm nice to meet you.
Thanks, Tim.
And thank you for subscribing.
And Hulda, Katie, and all of the Contrarians. You do such wonderful work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Met Regina out here. Regina, would you just show us your sign? We are not overreacting. So tell me what brings you out here today.
Just the rights that we're losing as women. It's disgusting. And that's why I'm here. I'm trying to defend for the future of all little girls and myself, and that's why I'm here.
All right. Are you part of the union effort today?
Yes, I am.
What union do you represent?
Baker's Confectionery. It's BCTGM, and it's local 364.
Well, thank you for being out here. I appreciate your time.
Wow, this is amazing to hear from everyone on the ground. Tim did a great job, and I'm telling you, it's you can feel it. You can feel it everywhere. I mean, I'm hearing from people in my community in Maryland. People like, oh, I saw some people here. I saw some people there. It's infectious. This movement is making people watch. And just like Mary Frances Berry said, the president is even responding. So when you have the president responding, he notices. And remember again what he did the last time. I'll never forget. What kind of president does that? Take an AI video, say King Trump, and fly it over demonstrators who are peacefully protesting and then let feces drop. That is the king that they are talking about. No kings. Okay. That is the king. So guys, I'm going to tell you, we are going to just continue to see videos from all across the country and show you what's been happening today, because it's not over. And even in Washington, D.C., they have this one major No King's Day rally, and then there are some little other branched off rallies. So people are feeling the momentum and building off of it. The question is, what's next? What's next? It's not just about these rallies, it's also about what's next. Like, how do I deal with this economic hurt? How do I fight back there? This is one part of this is one tool in the toolbox to really put pressure to get what you need and what you want. So now I think we are going to travel back to Minnesota, ground zero for today. Today, Minnesota is the spotlight for No King's Day, and Katie Fang, our Katie Fang, is there. Let's take a look at what she brought us.
We're at the Minnesota State Capitol. It is No King's Day 3.0, and the person that's standing next to me has to get a lot of credit for this. Ezra Levin, the co-founder of Indivisible. Ezra, we gotta look at this. Like, this is at least 100,000 people, but it's not about the numbers, right? Yeah. It's about why this is happening. Why is it just so amazing to see people coming out for now the third largest protest in American history?
Well, this largest protest in Minnesota.
Third time, sorry.
Third time. Well, we keep on breaking records. No Kings 1 was the largest protest in American history. Then No Kings 2 beat that, and now No Kings 3 is clearly beating No Kings 2. Look, I'm a small part of this, Katie. I think anybody who's connected to this knows it takes literally millions of people to make this happen. And I think the real magic here is people aren't waiting for somebody to come save the day. They're not waiting for some organizational leader to say, this is what we do. They're organizing themselves. And when you're operating under a period of authoritarian breakthrough, You need people to stand up and protect their own rights. That's the only thing that works. So I am so heartened to see so many millions of people here and around the world who are showing up in this moment. That's what we need, and that's what we're getting.
And there's more than 3,200 events across 7 continents at last count.
Even the penguins in Antarctica, Katie, don't like the tariffs and are showing up to protest every single continent. It's actually more than 3,300 protests
Oh,
now.
see, I would be corrected by Ezra.
3,300 protests. It's mind-boggling, is what I would say. From the biggest cities, Bruce Springsteen's going to be here, to the smallest, reddest, most rural towns in America, there are people collecting to exercise their power. This is where we built from. I want to be clear. Numbers are great. Getting new people in now is great, but it's not just about a one-day protest. It's about what comes next and how do you build forward. And what we see here is a lot of demand from people to be part of something real and impactful and community-based.
I really want to focus, though, on what you just said a minute ago, which is it's happening even in the reddest of places in the U.S. For those people that may sometimes feel like they are the tiny blue dot in the sea of red, why is a day like today also important for them?
Look, it turns out even in a Trump plus 80%, 20% district, there's 20% of the district there that didn't vote for him. There's even a higher percentage of the district there that isn't happy with this war, isn't happy with prices, isn't happy with a secret police goon squad that is terrorizing that community. But if people don't organize and show up and give a welcoming event for other people to be part of, you don't find each other. And if you don't find each other, you can't organize. And if you don't organize, you can't push back. And if you don't push back, then the authoritarian wins. That's why, look, like I said, I'm proud this is the biggest protest in Minnesota history here, but I grew up in rural Texas, outside of Buda city limits. Down the street from where I grew up, there's a No Kings protest today, and that's a place where, when I was growing up, there were Democrats a bad word. There was no organizing infrastructure there, and if you were mad about the Iraq War or something George W. Bush was doing, good luck. Where were you going to organize? Right now, we are planting a seed that will grow into something extraordinarily powerful, not just this year, but going forward.
Your thoughts about the fact that here I have seen so many little kids. I'm talking 5-year-olds that are here. I thank their parents. I say you're raising them the right way. But what type of message does that send to the authoritarians and the fascists and the autocrats out there when you do have little kids showing up to things like No King's Day 3.0?
Well, you saw this leading up to No Kings 2. We couldn't go a day without hearing Mike Johnson or some other national Republican saying, they're terrorists, they're Antifa, there's going to be violence. And they called out the National Guard in some places. Utterly ridiculous. And as we've all seen, at Hands Off last April, at No Kings 1 last June, at No Kings 2 last October, and at No Kings 3 today, this is two things. It's courage and it is joy. And we're seeing both of those things at the same time. When I see young kids out here, what I see a democracy that's actually functioning. I see a movement that is welcoming new people in, and I see the next generation of leadership that's going to actually fix this country, and we desperately need it.
So what is the next step? It's not just waiting for No King's Day 4.0. Right. What do people need to be doing right now to stay focused, motivated, and activated?
So check this out. We have 2 specific action items. Lee and I just left the stage and we gave these 2 action items. One is we are asking people who are hosting these events to hold a what's next event, literally a what's next event. Maybe it's next weekend or the weekend after, but because if millions of people come out and then they just go home, we haven't achieved what we're looking to achieve. We need them plugged in. And look, I don't particularly care if it's Indivisible or 5051 or Working Families Party or the local immigrant rights group or a faith community. They need to plug in locally somewhere. Plug in there and then build for the future. And the specific next action item is May 1st, May Day, a day of not business as usual, a day where you say no shopping, no work, no school, to demonstrate our economic power in addition to just our numbers.
Where can people go to get more information like that?
You can check out indivisible.org. We are building towards this with our partners at 5051 and Move On and Public Citizen and you name it. But most importantly, I want to drive home the point. I'm biased towards Indivisible National. I love our organization, but plug in locally. Do not just join a national mailing list. Do not just sign a petition. Get involved wherever your local community is, because that's where the real magic happens. That's where the real power is.
Ezra, thank you does not cover it. I just want to say I can't begin to express my gratitude for your hard work and your incredible graciousness when it comes to giving credit to other coalitions. But this is a whole bunch of people saying thank you to you. So Ezra Levin, thank you so much for everything.
This is me saying thank you to them.
Thanks. I am still here at the Western Sculpture Park in St. Paul, and I'm joined by Sam Torres. Sam, tell everybody who's watching right now, what are you wearing and why are you here today?
So we are Kalpulias and Noshli. We're a Mexica Nawa danza community. We're here in our regalia, bringing our danza medicine, our prayers, our blessings of protection, of encouragement, of healing, gathering with our neighbors here in remembrance of all of the trauma and the violence that our cities have seen in places everywhere. We're here to tell everyone that immigrants are indeed welcome here, that each one of us that stands shoulder to shoulder, we're here to build that collective community power and to speak truth to power, because our prayers, our energy, our resourcefulness together, we are stronger than the authoritarianism that we're seeing at the federal level. This is a fight that requires all of us. Each of us have a role to play, and we are bringing what we know that we can bring. And these are prayers of strength, of encouragement, and of healing.
I am here with Bob and Charlene, and you're not going to, or maybe you could read where they're from. Bob, all the way from Maine. Why?
Well, honor Alex and Renee Good, slain by ice, and thank the people in Minnesota for putting up such a fight.
Charlene, what do you think about the energy that is always Minneapolis-St. Paul?
Oh, the energy is great. We go to other rallies too. The energy is always good because people know how to fight. We still know how to fight in this country, and that's what we're going to do.
Bob, why is it important to show the fight, to be out here?
It just feels good to be around like-minded people, and it'll let you know that you're not alone, and this is what we got to do. We got to get our country back. Yeah.
Charlene, your sign, mushroom weenie wannabe Mussolini. Who are we talking about?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But this is another sign too. It says, "We are profoundly demoralized, yet we fight."
This is a really important message, right? Because they're trying to beat us down. They're trying to make us feel like we don't have a voice and that we don't have a say in our own present and our future. Bob, what message do you want to send to everybody who's tuning in and watching?
Just keep up the fight. Keep up the fight.
Well, Bob and Charlene, I am so grateful that you came all the way from Maine and for your incredible dedication and devotion to democracy. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Katie, we appreciate you and all your conversations. And remember, Minnesota has been going through a lot since George Floyd. Then you had the killing of some state lawmakers, and then you had ICE come and just ravage communities and kill people. Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And ICE is still there, according to a recent interview that I had with the State Attorney General Keith Ellison. He said they're not as concentrated as they once were in Minneapolis and St. Paul in the Twin Cities area, but they're still in the state. And that's why Minnesota is ground zero today. It is the focus point for the No Kings rally. But remember, there are over 3,300 rallies across this nation. And then you have others internationally. And with all of this, I want to bring on one more guest. He is coming to us by phone, and you know him. He is the activist. I'm talking about none other than Reverend William Barber. Reverend Barber, hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, April, thank you. And thank you for the way in which you are helping us to understand the panoramic view and connecting it. Because if we look at No Kings Rally in a vacuum, we just something happened. This kind of mobilization goes all the way back to Moral Mondays in North Carolina, when we mobilized hundreds of thousands of people and fought back. George Floyd, the battle for Black Lives Matter, union rallies, the killing of good and prey. And you have to look at it as a building, as rather than just one group individual doing something, but as Ezra said, kind of a collectiveness coming. I call it moral fusion.
Yeah. This is, and it is moral. This is moral. This is empathy. This is not just policy, but it's tugging at the heartstrings. You are a minister. You're also a civil rights leader, but I hear from so many people there needs to be empathy. Do you believe this president has any empathy
No.
for Americans?
Well, his policy shows that he doesn't. And see, moral doesn't mean feel good and not economics. Economics, as you remember, was once a study only conducted under the framework of moral philosophy. And so policies determine your empathy. You know, Jesus said your empathy is determined by, well, where were you with the sick? Where were you with the hungry? Where were you with the stranger? Where were you with the broken? Where were you with the poor? Isaiah in the Bible says, woe unto those who legislate evil and rob the poor of their rights. So you have one crowd now, this authoritarianism is trying to get itself consecrated by religious nationalism. And the religious nationalism is arguing that empathy is the cause of the downfall of Western society. And they're saying that the empathy of the 1960s that brought about the civil rights laws, that brought about women's rights and peace rallies and the LGBT, they're saying all that's bad. We have to challenge that. In fact, April, the two things, and I said this today in Raleigh at a massive rally, that we have to, I think, in this moment, and Ezra and I have talked about this a lot. Number one, we must move from recanting and reciting our grievances to vision. People don't get tired. After a while, recanting grievances will wear them out. And you allow the person and persons that you don't agree with to control even your rallies. So what you have to do is write the vision. Say to every politician, we don't want to hear anymore how much you're against Trump. We got that. But tell us, if we give you a majority, what's going to happen in the first 50 days of your majority? What's going to happen with healthcare? What's going to happen with war? What's going to happen with fixing our broken immigration system? What's going to happen with living wage and the poor? We have to give folk now a vision out of the nightmare. And then the second thing is we have to do something that may be hard. You know, in the movie Sinners, Michael Jordan and others show us something, because there's a line in there that says they can't come in unless we invite.
You cannot come in unless you invite. And for not a spoiler alert, but when the vampires, when the vampires were trying to perpetrate like they were human beings, they couldn't cross the threshold of a doorway unless you invited them in. But we didn't invite him to be a king.
Well, yes, we did in this sense.
I didn't.
Okay, no, you didn't. But in some, let me tell you how the invite happened. If you look at the movie, I don't want to tell everybody. There's a place where the girl gets so afraid that she doesn't hold. She says, just come on in, you so-and-so. And a lot of people were so upset with the government because it hadn't done universal health care. It hadn't done living wages. We hadn't fixed voting right. They said, well, just maybe if we let a crazy, authoritarian in, he'll tear up everything. We invited them in when 151 million voted, but 90 million didn't. We invited them in when nearly 40% of Americans didn't vote. We invited them in when the difference between Hakeem Jeffries being speaker was only 7,000 votes. We invited them in 6 states, 7 million people stayed home. There's 230,000 people in each of those states that voted. We invited them in when the number of Black women that voted for Congress versus Obama was lower. We invited them in when Trump's votes were less in many areas, but 19 million people that voted for Biden-Harris did not vote at all for anybody. And so we have to own that, but we own it by saying we have another chance now. We have another chance to let the light in, let truth in. And if we vote our power, see, Trump and these authoritarians are not in office because they have all the power or because they're so strong. They are in office because of who did not come on the field and fight and vote. Now we have a chance. This election.
And that's what I need you to help people understand, because we keep saying you need to get out and vote, you need to get out and vote, but a lot of people don't connect the dots.
Okay.
If you vote, please help people connect the dots, because you still have a lot of people saying my vote's not going to count. And you know what? And I always say the greater the pain, the greater the protest. But apparently,
Well,
I still see people sitting out.
okay. Well, here's what I'm saying to folks. Let's get over this about voting for perfection. You have that's why you have Jesus. That's why you have Allah. That's why you have Jehovah. So just understand, we're not voting for God, just like we don't want a king. You don't vote on God. You don't want a king. But here's the bottom line. One thing that Trump and his entourage, let's not say, it's not just him. He's a symptom of the sickness. Well, one of the things that we have seen with him is if he says it, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it to the people who need to be hurt less. What I mean, he hurts the people who are already hurting. This election is about: do you want your health care? Because this president has shown you in one bill that he signed and the Congress that they will take 20-some million people's health care and not lose any sleep over it. Do you want a living wage? You want things to stay at $7.25 an hour, or do you want the possibility of $15, $16 living wage?
I want to be able to make my husband deviled eggs.
Exactly, and pay your light bill.
Yes.
And this president has shown that they don't care about workers. They care about the greedy and the already wealthy. Do you want war, unnecessary war? We're spending almost $1 billion a day as a conservative. One said $1 million a minute as one study. But the question is that what you want, or do you want peace and negotiation?
And then they're asking for more money. They're asking for more money for the war, and yet people can't afford their insurance, can't afford money for to go across to work, to drive to work. And then, Reverend Barber, here's the thing. You know, everybody's talking about their gas bill. I said, oh, my gas bill has gone up. Do you know in my area that the kilowatts have increased by 17 cents? And everybody's like, oh, my gas bill is so high.
Right, right. Well, April, in the Bible, it says if you give somebody king-like authority, they will destroy you and your children. And this is about not just you need to vote, but every aspect of our life, from your birth to your death, is controlled some form of politics or policy implemented by elected leaders. This is the moment. It can't just be save the democracy. This is really about saving people's lives. It's really about what kind of country are we going to be? And what we are seeing is a third deconstruction. If you go down and read Project 25, the goal of that is to deconstruct everything that we've already won. Is, do you want protected voting rights, or do you want to see the total dismantlement of voting rights, of equal protection under the law? That's what we have to say to vote. And then lastly, I told somebody the other day, Abraham, this is the last thing I say. I don't trust anybody. We're going to have a program to register and vote everybody. That's not, you're never going to do that. What we need is micro analysis, and we need to target our efforts. Do you know that in every state that Trump won, if you just had 10% of the people who didn't vote mobilize, that those states would flip? That's where we need to focus. And lastly, the greatest place to change the electorate is among poor and low-wage workers. Poor and low-wage workers. 30 million didn't vote in the last election. The number one reason they vote is they say nobody talks to them. But more importantly, poor and low-wage voters represent 36 to 42% of the electorate in every state. And raising the minimum wage to a living wage polls at around 75 or 80%. So any politician running in this election that's not talking about poverty and living wages really doesn't want to whoop authoritarianism. And affordability is not enough. You have to say people understand poverty and low wages. And if you're not saying elect me, and in the first 50 days, not 100 days, we will raise the minimum wage to a living wage, then you really not want to win against authoritarianism. Because authoritarianism does not want to see that happen.
Reverend Barber, we can go on for a long time. But I thank you for giving us your perspective as a civil rights leader. I thank you for giving your perspective from Moral Mondays. And I thank you for giving the perspective from what's happening in North Carolina, your home state, where you have served as the head of the North Carolina chapter of the NAACP. Sir, thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for showing us what freedom looks like.
Thank you so much, April. And let's close this door and send them home.
We're
Take
going
care.
to close this door. Okay, Reverend Robert just said, let's close this door and send them home. No King's Day. Do you realize this is the single largest nonviolent day of action in American history? No King's Day. We didn't elect a king. We did not elect a king. We did not elect a king. We elected a man who's not a part of a monarchy, who doesn't have a throne or a gold crown. He's got a lot of gold appliques around the Oval Office, but he doesn't have a gold throne or a gold crown. Lord knows why did I say that? Because he might start wearing a crown. That's how he is. But nonetheless, I want to thank you so much for joining us for the Contrarians coverage of No King's Day. It's been 2 hours with me. I did it earlier and this hour. And we hope you join us again, please, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, okay? And then it's 5:30 p.m. on the West Coast. And we're going to leave you with some scenes from today's protests from around the country. Guys, thank you. I'm April Ryan, signing off.
Crowned by good with brotherhood from sea to shine.